Hey everybody. Well, after I made my last video, I started thinking about a lot of things. And I watched a couple of other videos that made me think, I've looked at my birth chart before, many times. I've read all the aspects of my birth chart before. And I knew in my birth chart that there's a few of the houses where I don't have any planets at all. So I was kind of curious as to what those houses represented, because the houses don't change. It's the planets in the houses that change. And the astrological sign that it's in it too as well. So my first house is in Sagittarius because I'm a Sagittarius rising. I don't have anything in my first house. I don't have anything in my second, third, or fourth. I do have, however, in my fifth house, which is pleasure and creativity, I have both Venus and Saturn. In my sixth house, I have Mercury, which is working routine. So when Mercury goes retrograde and all that, the seventh house is about relating, and my sun is in Cancer in that house. It's about basically partners, relationships, selecting and seeking partners and stuff. The eighth house is about changing values. I don't have any planets in that house. And then my ninth house is philosophies and foreign countries, and I have Jupiter, Uranus, and Pluto in that one. In my occupation and calling house, which is the 10th one, that's the moon, which is Libra. My moon's in Libra. The 11th house, I guess would be Scorpio, which is friends and acquaintances. I don't have anything in that house. And then let's see what's after Scorpio. Sagittarius. So Scorpio. Yeah, it's kind of weird the way the houses and the constellations wrapped around, because it wasn't like... In one of my houses, I have 2 different signs in a couple of my different houses. So it just depends on if I had any planets in that house and what sign they were in that house. But under occupation and calling is the moon. Friends and acquaintances, there's none under that. And then beyond the personal, I have Mars and Neptune. And I will say that after reading a lot of this again today, I understand a little bit more as to why I react the way I do. But I wanted that answer because I even asked that question. A lot of my... What's the word I'm looking for? A lot of my discontent, I guess, with life and certain aspects of life come from not having a lot of support when I was a kid growing up. I didn't have very supportive parents. My dad, he tried to be supportive, but he was always gone. He was never around. My main caregiver was my mom, in the home. And she wasn't very supportive at all. So I basically grew up with no kind of real emotional support. And I definitely grew up with no kind of physical, I didn't grow up with any physical affection. I was adopted. So I never got to bond with my birth mother, and then I was basically thrown into a traumatic situation with being raised by two people that really, in reality, didn't need to be raising a kid. You know what I'm saying? And I think I still have a lot of work to do, like, on myself, because I also learned a lot about myself today looking at the chart that as to why I don't really have a lot of hobbies or passions. It's because I was never really encouraged to. I was never really encouraged to put my mind on one thing and try to create from that, you know. I always like a challenge, but sometimes I guess throughout my life, because of the fact that I didn't have much support or encouragement, I would quit a lot of things before I really even got a chance to get started in them because I didn't have that support, you know, or encouragement. When I was 5, I tried to learn how to play the piano, but I quit it very quickly. When I was 10, my dad bought me an acoustic guitar, and I went and took the lessons from this man here in town at the music store. But he basically had no personality and wasn't teaching me anything that gave rise to me holding an interest in that specific instrument. It didn't give any rise to any kind of passion for me to want to continue to try to learn how to play the guitar. So I gave it up. Then when I was 12 and in 6th grade, I started playing the saxophone. And I think the only reason why I stuck with that instrument and stayed in band was because of the fact that I was like in a group environment versus a singular environment, you know, like where you're playing piano, you're usually by yourself unless you're in a band, you know, or playing for a choir or something like that. A guitar requires you to be with another group of people as well, you know, other instruments. Whereas when I was with the saxophone, I had others around me, I guess, is what it comes down to. That gave me the encouragement to stick with it and to play my part, you know. So I played the saxophone, and then when I got into high school, I was in jazz band, and I played the trumpet. I played the saxophone and the trumpet in jazz band. And then in my high school band, my junior year, I played the French horn in concert band as well as in marching band that year. And then there was a couple of pieces where I played my saxophone as well. But once I graduated high school, me continuing to play those instruments by myself didn't happen, you know. So I guess my personality tends to lead me to need to be around others in a team-like effort, but at the same time, being more solo. Certain things I can do with others, and other things in my life I prefer to do solo. Be solo. But looking back on that video that I made earlier because I was frustrated when I got home, I could see what triggered me to get frustrated. After looking at my birth chart and learning a little bit more about the aspects of my personality or some of the challenges that I'm going to deal with growing up. Birth charts don't lie. Birth charts don't lie. I could still dive deeper into my birth chart. What I need to do is I need to go and figure out all the planets, whether they're air, fire, water, or earth. And see where the planets are as far as like my moon's in Libra, my sun's in Cancer. I'm a Sagittarius rising. I think I have Mercury in my 5th house, which is, I think, Taurus. I have Venus in Taurus. I know that for a fact. And Mercury's in Gemini, that's right. And then my sun's in Cancer. So yeah. I mean, I've got my... Yeah. So it's just, going and learning the aspects of these things because it's all energy anyways. Alright, well, I'm back now. I had to take a short break for a second. But I pretty much, I think, have discussed pretty much what I want to discuss. So my apologies to anybody, but that's just part of my personality. That's just how I am. I'm going to try to work on that, though. That's, I guess, part of getting to know myself. I'm going to start trying to work on these specific aspects of my life to try to bring more balance. I want to try to work on balancing out the negative and the positive. If I have one aspect of my personality that's a little bit more positive than the negative, that I'll try to just keep it at that. But if I have a part of my personality that's a little bit more leaning negatively versus more positive, I'm going to try to work on that and bring more positive into that aspect of my personality. That's another part of my birth sign, my natal chart. It says that I don't like to offend others and that I am sort of afraid of speaking my truth because I'm afraid that I will offend other people. But that when I get really discouraged with the world and the way life is, that's when I tend to speak my mind. I have a very, it talks about my birth chart how I'm drawn to occult, knowledge, occult practices, not necessarily doing them myself, but just an interest in those areas. The occult, religious things, etc., etc. I'm just trying to get to know myself and get to know my origins and things of that nature. I guess I shouldn't really get down and depressed, but I do because in my birth chart, it talks about how I do better with somebody. But I by my side versus being alone. But at the same time, there's things in my birth chart that talk about how I prefer being alone and being in my own space. So I'm learning to need to learn how to balance it out, But I'll say this, I definitely am looking for a friend. Somebody I can talk to on a very regular basis. And when I say very regular, I mean every day. I need a friend that's willing to sit there and share and exchange information with me. And I'm not talking about your daily run-of-the-mill subject matters, like the weather. Those things don't matter to me. I could care less about those things. I could care less about the things that they're showing us in this world. I don't want to dive into subject matters where you can't really see anything, I want to dive into subject matters that really cause your brain to work, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm looking for somebody I can communicate with on a regular basis. Somebody that has some of the same interests as me. Somebody who likes to smoke pot. Somebody that's interested in the, occult, spiritual side of life. People who are interested in flat earth. People who are interested in getting to know themselves and raising their own vibration, and talking about things like that, that's the subject matters I'm interested in. I am interested in other subject matters, but those are just a few of the subject matters off the top of my head that I'm interested in. But there's more to me than just that, There's more to me than just that. Anyways, I think I've gone on long enough, and maybe everybody... I just hope everybody can get to know me for who I am, But sometimes I feel discouraged because I feel like maybe possibly I'm not connecting with those types of people that I really need to be connecting with. I'm not into superficialness, I'm into real. I'm into diving deep, I just don't really feel like I have much interest in superficial things anymore. Which I guess is a good thing. I could care less about any of the things that they're showing us on the world stage. I could care less about any of the clown show at all. I don't care. It's all a script that they're going by, and yeah, there's a lot of dramatic things that are probably getting ready to hit everybody's flipping life. Why? Because we the people have sat on our butts and not done anything and stood up for ourselves. I think that's part of my birth chart too. How ironic, huh? And a lot of that I think has to do with my job. I think I'm surrounded by too much negativity at my job, honestly. Too many negative people. Too many people that want to just complain all the time. And I'm not a complainer. I don't like to complain, but I will say this. I am easily influenced, and other people's energies rub off on me very easily. Maybe that's another thing I need to do is start learning how to build up a shield a little bit more around me so other people's energies don't get absorbed and wrapped up into mine and then cause all sorts of confusion and delusion and you know what I mean. Anyways, people, I hope you'll have a good evening, and I'm just going to try to relax the rest of my evening. Make some food, drink some coffee, smoke some weed, and just chill out. Maybe watch a movie or something. Maybe that's what I need to do, is just completely get off freaking social media for the evening and just divert my attention towards other places. Anyways, peace, love, hugs, nugs, and until the next time.